Hey everyone, it's Kelly. Welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be a quintessential summer book tag. I was tagged by Marissa over at Marissa's Danforth. She does booktube videos, so I will link her channel down below. And I will also link the original creator of this tag, which was TheBookishKat. I had to do a lot of searching and I finally found it. So she's the creator of this tag and she will be linked down below. But let's get on with the questions. I was super excited that Marissa decided to tag me. She's a newbie booktuber and I think I've done this tag before, or I've seen the questions. I think I've seen a lot of videos of this tag and just never created it because I remember the questions and I remember picking books out for it, but I never filmed it because I can't find it on my channel. It may be one of those videos that I filmed, edited, and it got deleted when my computer crashed. So let me go into the questions. Question number 1, an ice drink. What's a refreshing book you have read? And I got my stacks right here. So the first book I'm going to be talking about is one of my favorites from last year, and that is The Clancy's of Queens by Tara Clancy. This is a non-fiction. This is a memoir all about Tara Clancy's childhood between blended family. She grew up in New York. Her father was he wasn't well off, but he did the best he could. He had a lot of friends and he took her to bars that had diners in it, and her mom got a boyfriend that lived in the Hamptons, so she was back and forth. She would get picked up from her dad's house in a limo, and it was just great. It has a bit about a sex shop. Question number 2, cotton candy. What's a book that was fluffy and sweet? So for this one I picked Love a la Mode by Stephanie Kate Strom. I read this years ago. It's about 2 teenagers who get into this prestigious culinary school in Paris, and they become friends, not necessarily lovers right away. They just friends because they both want this like scholarship and to come back, and it was just great. Paris, loved it. It was a very quick read. I read it around Christmas time and it was just chef's kiss perfect. So it was fluffy and sweet. I read it in one sitting. It's as fluffy as my hair. It's hot. Okay, so question number 3, sunglasses. Name a dark book you read. I have to choose The Kite Runner by Khaled Hosseini, especially with everything that's going on in Afghanistan right now. When I read this, I cried and it was just so scary. The Taliban and the Russians, it was just what happened to Hassan. Hassan was just, my heart broke for Hassan. Amir was a little shithead, and yeah, the end, I really want to pick up the Kite Run, not the Kite Run, this is the Kite Run. I really want to pick up 1,000 Splendid Suns, but I don't know how that's going to impact my emotions when they are already devastated over what will happen to the women and children over in Afghanistan. They're going to lose their rights once again because of the Taliban takeover. And yeah, so this was a dark book. My husband, he's not a reader, but we watched a movie, and he doesn't like non-English movies because he can't read the subtitles fast enough. He's not a very good reader. He struggles with reading. He's always had. But he loved the movie. I mean, he was so impacted, and he kept talking about it for days. And I was like, yeah, the book, it was great. And yeah, so if the book and the movie can make such an impact on the world, then yes, this was a dark book. Khaled Hosseini, he needs to write more. Okay, question number 4, picnic on a rainy day. Name a sad book you have read. Just like everybody else's pick, I have to go with The Nightingale with Kristen Hanna. Sorry, my nose is itching. Somebody's talking about me. But okay, so when the husband leaves to get, when he gets drafted, I teared up. The end, I finished at 8 o'clock on a Monday morning. I was homeschooling my children. I was still homeschooling my children. Still am. But it was before our school day. I finished this wrecked. I was, Mama, what's wrong? No, don't talk to me. Don't talk to me. Just do your work. Don't talk to me. This is... I'm kind of glad the movie's not out yet, but I really... Do I? I don't want to cry. This will never be a reread, but I will always have it in the back of my mind. Be like, yeah, that's the book that made you cry on the Monday morning. In the dark. With a book light. It was cold and rainy and a January day and just, no. Bad day. But great book. Highly recommend if you have not read it. Number 5. Sand. A book that irritated you. Now, if you have been a regular subscriber to my channel and have seen my rants about this book since November of last year, then you should know that this book is high on my shit list. And that is The Rise and Fall of Charles Lindbergh. This is the most disgusting human being, second to Hitler. Charles Lindbergh, he made a fantastic accomplishment. He was the first to fly a plane from New York to Paris. And then he comes back and he makes a list of requirements that he needs to have in a wife. She needs to be obedient. She needs to be accomplished. She needs to have dreams. But she needs to put all of that aside to become his co-pilot when he is flying. Okay, so he finds a wife and they have a son. Not even a month after his child's birth, he has her in a plane away from their kids. Like, okay, you just gave birth, now you can help me pilot around the world. And then we'll come back in 2 years to our son. And we'll expect him to know us and greet us properly. Like, what? No. And he was also a Nazi sympathizer. He had a wife and a family in America. He had an additional 3 separate families in Germany because he wanted his superior Aryan genes to survive and live on. I love Candace Fleming's writing. I have nothing against this author. It's just the subject matter. And I was given this book as a blog tour spot. So, I read it. I took my time reading it. I hated it. And I'm going to bitch and complain about this man every chance I get. So, I better not get any comments saying that, oh, well, you shouldn't have read it then if you don't like the man. I didn't know anything about this man. Question number 6. Marissa put it as Margarita because she didn't have a title for this one. Or a little name. But on the original, I'm seeing that it's a summer blockbuster. What's your favorite book to movie adaptation? No surprise here that it's The Hunger Games. By Suzanne Collins. Everybody knows The Hunger Games. The movies are a worldwide global phenomenon. Jennifer Lawrence, one of the best actresses of my generation. We're the same age. Josh Hutcherson, the cutest Peeta Mellark, and will always be Peeta in my eyes. And introduced me to so many actors that I've never heard before. I love this book. I have got some of my best friends from this fandom on Tumblr, and one of my really good friends from Tumblr, she has a book coming out and I'm so excited. I will link her book down below on Amazon. And so this book, best movie adaptation, best book series, my favorite overall. And then I got another one, Forrest Gump. I never read the book and I'm not going to read a book, but I grew up watching a movie and it's just amazing because I've been to some of the filming locations because I live in South Carolina and some of the filming locations were in Beaufort and Savannah, and I'm just, yes. Number 7, dropped ice cream. Oh no. What's a book that you were anticipating but was disappointed by? I had to think long and hard about this one. Well, I guess I can go with this one because after I read the Hunger Games series, I heard so much about this series that it was just the same and that it was going to be even bigger and better than the Hunger Games, and that is Divergent by Veronica Roth. I did not like this book. The movies suck big time, and they never finished the movies. My husband loves the movies. That's more I question his taste. But anyways, so I didn't like this, and I picked it up really quickly because I read that Veronica Roth wrote this while she was a student at Northwestern, and that's one of the colleges that I applied to when back in 2008 when I was a senior. And so I have a feeling that if I did get into Northwestern, I would know Veronica Roth because I wanted to go into journalism. So I can only dream. But this book was just no. Question number 8. Palm Tree. Name a book that you loved. And every time somebody asks me, what's your favorite book besides the Hunger Games, I tell them The Heart's Invisible Furies by John Boyne. I loved this book. This is about a boy named Cyril Avery. All his life he's told by his adopted father, you're not a real Avery. You're not a real Avery. And he grows up knowing that he's not a real Avery, and he wants to find his... He's not exactly searching for his birth mom, but he is on the lookout. And he's learning more about himself. He's coming to terms with being gay in Ireland. Talks about him having tryst in Ireland public bathrooms and risking being killed or beaten up severely. It talks about the Stonewall riots in New York and how his lover was killed. It talks about HIV and AIDS crisis, about how one of his best friends from childhood that he had a major crush on, who didn't return his affections because he was a straight boy, he ends up getting HIV and it becomes AIDS, and he goes, one of his other lovers, he lives in Holland and they go to the Aunt Frank house. It's just his life, and he eventually meets the person where this book starts all, and I just loved it. I am planning a reread, but then I remembered that I cried profusely at all the deaths and all the grief that he goes through, and yeah, so this is a LGBT rep book, and I highly recommend you pick up this book. I know that it won some awards, or that it was the best book of the year on a couple of different websites when this book came out, and I thank Blogging for Books profusely for giving me the opportunity to get a copy and to review this on my blog when this came out. Sadly, Blogging for Books is no longer open. It's not in business anymore. I think Random House, Random House, who did all of it, shut it down because too many bloggers and more websites were reviewing things, and it was just not needed anymore. So, but I found one of my favorite books from that website and I loved it. Okay, question number 9. Bonfire. I'm sweltering. What's a book you want to burn? Okay, so when I saw this book at my local Dollar Tree, I didn't know anything about it, but the cover and the colors intrigued me. I love any book set on an ocean or a ship. I'm into that stuff. The book I want to burn because it was total garbage, and I hyped myself up for this book. and that is The Ship by Antonia Honeywell. The characters, they're just bland as fuck. One chapter they're saying they want to do this, and then the next chapter they're going back and like renouncing what they say, and then the next chapter they're wanting to do what they wanted to do in the other previous chapter. It's crazy. So this is about a dystopian world where if you don't have an ID card, you get killed instantly. This takes place in London, and the ID cards are always changing. So one day you can have the correct ID card, and then they can change it overnight. And if you don't have the proper ID card, you get killed automatically. So this brain dead girl, her mom and dad are getting on this gray ship, and they're not supposed to, but her dad made this ship, and it's to hold 500 people. This ship is so big that it has like 50 years worth of food and clothing. And then her mom gets shot on the way to the ship, and then her dad is just like, oh well. What? Layla has grown up in near isolation in her parents' apartment, shielded from the chaos of their collapsed civilization. And then it's got this instant love where she falls in love with a guy she has met eyes with once, and he's her soulmate, and then they keep fucking on top of the fucking roof of the ship of a porthole, and she gets pregnant, and she decides, well, I'm just gonna abandon ship because you're just going back in circles back and forth with no destination in sight. I hated this book. It's garbage. I want to burn it. Question number 10. Last question. Fireworks. Name a book that exploded onto the scene. And I really don't know what this one means, but My Lady Jane by Cynthia Hand, Brody Ash, and Jody Meadows. It's because these three authors were like very well established in the book world, and it's a retelling of Lady Jane Grey, and it's funny as hell. I loved it. My Plain Jane, it wasn't my favorite, and I still need to read My Calamity Jane, but good lord, the shape-shifting, the horses, the apples, the ferret, loved it. So yes, highly recommend. And that's it for my quintessential summer book tag. I don't like that word, quintessential. It's just too long. But anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, and I'll see you in my next video after I cut it down. Bye.